All right, guys, listen. The only thing that matters if you subscribe right now or comment or whatever you're doing right now, go to the page. What's the name? Oh, go to the page right now. What's the name? I was talking to my friend right there, the sexy Chauncey the Bear. You know what time it is. There's two of us, and there's two of them, right? Those wrestling girls, there's two of them. Make sure to subscribe, like, watch, enjoy.
Queen P.R, Krista B, those wrestling girls, TWG, Black Excellence, making it effortless. Podcast bringing up women and wrestling. Let's go.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Krista B
and Queen P.R.
And we are here with a special episode today because we are celebrating National Podcast Day.
Yes.
And it's only right that we come out and celebrate ourselves along with many other ones, you know, that helped us come this far, you know, and being that it's National Podcast Day, we figured that we would just talk about our 4 years. We've been together for 4 years. Like, this is a marriage at this point. We've been together for
it's
4
like
years.
More than 4 years too, because like the years we were like talking about it, and like so it's definitely been probably even a 5-year journey at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a 5-year journey, but 4 years since it came to like fruition or whatever. Yeah. And I really don't want to be on this journey with anybody else. Like,
you're like literally one of my sisters at this point.
Same. We talk every day.
Seriously.
About everything.
Is we talk about, I don't even remember who, just like friends you met through wrestling. Like, wrestling definitely brings special people into your life, but then it's dope when you connect with people and then it's like we don't talk about wrestling at all.
Right.
Like, I met people that are like genuinely my friends, genuinely my sister, you know, genuinely checking in with each other. You know, I want to share too, because I feel like we talk about our origin story a lot, but I would love to share, you know, some things about how the podcast came to be that we like don't really talk about, and just some people that we don't even really talk about. Like, I was thinking about like Cliff and right.
Oh my gosh. Shout out to Cliff, and he supports us to this very day. Like,
he was like the first producer we ever worked with.
Yeah, he supports us to this very day. I spoke to him not too long ago. I think when Bianca like tagged me in her story, and he hit me and was just like, "Oh, you got tagged." Like, Cliff is the homie. Mixie, shout out to Queen.
Yes. Mixie. Oh my God! Shout out to Mixie.
The whole Brick crew
that we would run into her at Brick's studio, and she was always like, "Yo, keep going." You know, had a successful brand of her own. It was like, "Yo, like, y'all got this. Keep going." So it was always really good to run into her and, you know, get her kind of positive vibes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the first place we recorded was in Brooklyn. And I don't even know. I think I have told you this over the years, but me and a guy at the time, we dated for 6 years, literally broke up like the week we recorded our first episode.
Yeah, I remember that. I feel like the conversation that we had when I was driving home, I'm not going to go into details, but I feel like that conversation solidified us as more than being co-hosts.
Totally.
Yeah, because it was like you needed somebody to vent to. I called you. For some reason, like when you were texting, I'm just like, nah, something ain't right. Like, it was my instinct. I had to call you, and it was just like, and I let you vent. You know, I let you say everything you had to say, and that just solidified us. And I feel like that's what also made us stronger, because we argue like we're siblings. Like, in the very beginning, we was arguing like P was over here pulling the Krista B on Krista B. Like, I'm glad it calmed down now, but without that, I wouldn't have grown and matured to who I am right now, because I can let y'all know, if it was not for, and I say this all the time, if it wasn't for P and how determined she is, how persistent she is when it comes onto our social media, and, you know, she left it all into my hands, those wrestling girls wouldn't be here. Okay.
Oh, I really
And I'm being
appreciate you
honest.
saying that. And I honestly have this to say the same thing because those wrestling girls, it's Krista B and Queen P.R for a reason. I think on screen, like I think we complement each other well in the way that on screen I feel like you're magnetic, like you have like a quality, and then like you're hosting it. I'm like, you have that. I feel like you're definitely like the personality of like the brand. And it was like I will never be that person. I wish I could take the mic and host the party. I would love that, but that's not me. So we just complement each other so well. Like we were just talking off air and about a situation where I'm just like, and Krista B was like, yo, I'll take the lead, follow my lead. And I'm like, great, no problem. I have no problem doing that.
I mean, we have to. It, like you said, it complements each other so well. And for National Podcast Day, we just also want to shed light on the other podcasts that helped us. Like the very first podcast network to reach out to us was definitely Jobberteers. Like we would not be here, and we mean this. Like this is a mutual feeling. We would not be here if it was not for Jobberteers Network, Jobberteers Podcast. Because if it wasn't for Wilkins, Mr. Black, Janelle from HR, if it wasn't for them giving us guidance and giving us the tools that we needed to start,
or even just the motivation to do it,
we would not be here. We would not be here.
I also want to shout out we went to NXT with him, Gil. We used to go on his radio show.
King Top of the Rope or King of the Top Rope?
I think it was Top of the Rope Radio, I think. And it was on CBS Sports. And that was like the first like outlet I ever talked about wrestling on. And to think it was live, like I remember it because I remember it vividly. And we didn't even, did we even start the podcast at this point?
We were at Brick. We were talking about it. I remember I was at Brick. We were in two different rooms, so we didn't want to echo off of each other. And we were on the phone. And this is around the time where Naomi was in that love triangle situation with Mandy Rose.
Oh my God, what a throwback.
Right. And I was just like, yep, I'm not for it. And you was all for it. I'm just like, absolutely not. I have a man. Like, I'll be damned. And da-da-da-da. And you was just like, but it builds for this. I'm like, F that. No. And he was actually the one who actually bought us tickets for NXT.
Yeah,
that was during was that WrestleMania weekend?
Yeah, that was WrestleMania weekend. That's the week we did everything. And
that's the week we found out we couldn't bounce back like we thought we could.
WrestleMania it's a long weekend.
It's a long weekend. That's when we first seen Bianca when she was a heel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what's crazy? When it popped up in my memories on my phone, I sent it to her. I said, "Girl, it's the first time I came in contact with you." She was like, "Yes, NXT, my heel days. As long as you know." Yeah. As long as you know. Sis.
Yeah. Oh, that was and that's when I realized like takeovers are like, because I was like, and I was like, wait, no, this was like a really good show.
But I knew takeovers was good because of the 2015 takeover when Bailey and Sasha, and I wanted to go so bad, and I didn't end up going. And then my editor at the time was just like, "Oh, I heard that the Bailey and Sasha one was good. I wish I would have got you tickets." I said, "Please don't speak to me because I've been talking to you about this whole weekend." And you
what you did.
But I also have to shout her out too. I also have to shout out Ayana from RBK. So she's over there killing it right now in the Broadway world. If you are looking at any social media pertaining to MJ the musical on social media, that's her running it. That is her running, and she just got her blue check on Instagram. So my sister's verified.
Her.
I definitely have to shout her out because when I was talking to her about doing a podcast about those wrestling girls, she always said, "She like, if you love wrestling and people love wrestling, but you have to find your niche." Yep. And I brought it to you, P. Remember, I was like, we gotta find our niche. We gotta find something. We went online. We researched. We went to see what people were not speaking about, people were speaking on, and it was really troubling us to figure out what we wanted to speak on because it was just like, all right, we grew up in the Attitude Era, but everybody talks about the men. Everybody talks about Rock and Austin and this, that, and the third. And then they hit us right when the women's evolution started to happen. It's like, oh, we're
Oh,
gonna
this
talk
is
about women's
perfect.
wrestling.
And I know, like, knowing myself, I was like, I have to do something where I'm not gonna get tired of talking about it. Like, I have to do something where I'm not gonna get bored or it's not gonna feel forced. And I was like, I'm always gonna be passionate about women, period, and like elevating them and stuff like that. And then being genuinely excited about the women's evolution, it was like perfect. It was like, because no matter what the women did from now on, and we clearly know the women's evolution did not last, we're still going to have commentary on it because we're going to talk about, so I was like, this is just going to, because I'm never going to really stop watching it. So I was like, you know what, this is going to be dope. And the fact that, and I, we talk about it all the time, but I always have to stress like how many women who reach out to us and say like, yo, like you got me back into wrestling, or thank you. You guys gave me a community to talk about women's wrestling with, or wrestling in general, or, the ones that live in like small towns or places where it's not cool to watch wrestling. Like we gave them that community. And I was like, I will always be grateful for that.
Same,
like,
me too.
100%, because wrestling in a way, like, just talking about starting the podcast, like it was such a transition time in my life. When you're with someone for half a decade, like, and you plan your life with them, and then all of a sudden, like, that's just not the case.
I mean, I'm like, almost half a decade. Nope. Not past half a decade.
Oh yeah, see, it's like such an adjustment. I moved back to New York, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And the podcast was like a baby that
was what you needed.
I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna put all my crazy ass Capricorn energy into this fucking podcast."
You know what? Hindsight, looking back now, I see why you were you needed to cope.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And I feel like you needed me to cope with you in that. And I wasn't on the same wavelength. I'm just like, girl, like, this is going to pay our bills. We're gonna be I was speaking stuff. I was manifesting stuff while you were in the process of getting my manifestations to come to fruition. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Look at me dropping the word. My pastor would be proud.
I love
my pastor would be proud. Okay.
I love it too. And it's like what we, like, it's funny, like, I feel like you're such a Pisces in a way where, like, you're going to manifest it and you're going to be, like, the bigger picture and the big, the big things. Like,
the glass half full instead of half empty.
Yeah. And then, like, I'm going to be the one, like, on the ground, like, that I'm just going to gravitate towards just being like, okay, I'm going to, like, do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, which I love. But then, like, going back to the balance thing where it's like, I can keep up our social media every day, but then it's like, you brought Bianca on. So it literally balances, it balances it out where, or just all the shows that and I want to definitely talk about the shows and some of the experiences since our 3rd year, like just since I would love to talk about things that happened since our 3rd year anniversary. And that's why I love like how we just work, where it's just like, those two, I could have never, gotten us on the floor in like Dallas and like, shit like that. So I love going back and just thinking about it because we've been doing it for so long. I was looking at all of these photos of us in like Gotham podcast studio, to us at Evolution, to us at the various shows that we went to at Barclays Center.
It's just been a crazy ride, and it's like, this is like the most smoothest roller coaster I've been on, although we have our times where we're up and we're having times where we're down, and all the way around. We deal with real life shit.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we're able to understand where the other one is coming from. Like, before, you really wasn't understanding me when I was just like, oh, social media is a lot. I already work on this on the daily. So please bear with me when I'm like kind of trying to take a break from it, although we're trying to build it from the ground, and you understand like what it means to take some time to yourself. Cause I was like, but then I also understand the hard work it takes to put into it and the consistency it takes to put into it. Because I will drop something like a bad habit, walk away, and then come back like a good 2-3 months later and be like, oh, hey, y'all, I'm back. And everyone like, who are you again? Where you been? So like you said, we really do balance each other out, and we have grown to understand each other. So now you're more on taking breaks And now I'm more some, hey, do we have this out? Can you send me this so you can take your break? Or can you show me how to do this? Because let me tell you something. Last Thursday, that stream, doing that StreamYard stuff, I was like, no. And I shouted you. I was like, I got to commend you because I was not understanding how I thought I knew how StreamYard worked until I actually had to figure out how StreamYard worked. And I'm like, oh, I lied.
And I enjoy. It's like I enjoy doing it, and I learned so much too. And then you know what else? Just to shout out like other podcasts, like about especially like wrestling podcasts. And I've heard a lot of different things, and the community has, of course, grown a lot since we started. But I would say that people that's in our circle, the other podcasts in our circle, we ride out for each other. We share resources. It's like all love. So I want to shout out the wrestling realm.
Absolutely.
They have been family since day one. Like I remember like Brian H. Waters' show when he was doing it. That was one of the first shows I ever appeared on live, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you were the first, and then I came about. And then for Brian to support us from day one, like, and I, it's crazy. I was just telling Chris, I'm like, yo, Brian is literally the bro. Like, he literally looks out for us. I'm like, when we were in Texas, remember when the two guys were just like, like being really rude and disrespectful to us?
Yeah.
And we told Brian was like, why are people so rude, especially to female women of color? Yeah. And I was telling Chris, because remember I was on the phone with him when it happened, and we were telling him what happened. And Chris was just like, yo, like, that's what's up. Like, he was out there to protect you guys, to, hold you guys down. So, and I feel like that with everybody we come encounter. I say this all the time. I say he's my number one hater, Matt from Black Wrestling. But I know that if I'm with him, like just chilling, hanging out, whatever, whether it's just him and I by ourselves, just at a bar, hanging out, chilling, or the whole of Black Wrestling, or whole of those wrestling girls, we are safe.
Yeah.
We are safe. Yeah. We are secure. They're not going to let anything happen to us, and we're not going to let anything happen to them. Yep. 100%. And I love that about our wrestling family. Yeah. Like, we all met each other for the first time at our anniversary party in person.
Yeah.
And it seemed like we've seen each other and known each other before that. Like,
yep.
And I'm just like, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm really trying to prove you wrong. You and Brian wrong on our anniversary party being the first time we seen each other in person. I'm really trying to figure out if there was another time.
Brian or Black Wrestling?
Everybody.
Oh no, it really probably was, because remember
that
it was
really
the
was
pandemic
the first
before
time.
that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't feel like it,
because once we met them, like once I met like Math in person and Fam and Brian and all of them, like it literally felt like I've known them forever. As cheesy as it sounds,
it's true.
I was like, especially like, cause Brian came early, and I was just like, and as soon as we met, I was like, I know, like it wasn't like nice to meet you. It was like, oh hey, like what's up?
Hey bro, what's up?
Mike, shout out to Nisho Soul who did our music.
He did my music too, but
yeah,
I have to retweak that, not the music, but the interview. It was a lot of mishaps, so we probably might have to release another one. But make sure you guys subscribe to my Patreon on Unapologetically Eclectic.
Cool.
That's it.
I love that. Again, family. He came to DC from DC.
From DC that night.
Our event. He came to New York for our event to meet us, and I think he plans on coming in November as well. So for our 4th anniversary event. So yeah, shout out to him. I want to shout out to real quick the watch parties that I used to host on Patreon for a while, and Mike was a part of that crew. It started out as the Bella Book Club, and then it just sort of like was like this monthly, like, well, I should do those. Those were cute.
You should do those again. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was so cute. Mike and Eva and Sinitra came a couple times.
Shout out to Sinitra.
Oh my god. Yeah, it used to be like super cute and fun. And that really was something, especially during the pandemic, that really was like a lifesaver. Rakarsha and
that's my birthday twin.
Yes, and I forgot the other little girl's name. I really wish I would have
Oh, the little girl. Yes, we had a fan. We had a little. She had to been about like 12, and
yeah,
she was on it with us. And me and Pete was like, "Is it okay for her to be
I
up
was like,
here?
you guys are parent if you can
Like,
do this, because
do
like
you
we don't
can
want
we
to,
get some type of parental signature consent because we don't want no smoke with anybody,
So
okay?"
I just like wrestling, and I was like, oh, this is so cute.
And she would be a faithful, like, people would be like, "Oh, if you could join." But although I couldn't join, I will always watch and I will always see her. So we definitely have to like,
Yeah, I'm gonna like look through our DMs and
see how
like
she's
see how
doing.
she's doing for sure. But that was a cute little group, and those were like day one, people that still support us to this day. Eva is still a dear friend to this day. And she lives all the way in Texas, and she's someone that I have never like physically met.
Wait, she lived in Texas and we didn't see her at Mania?
No.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm not going to Rumble. You going to Rumble?
I don't think so. I mean, that's my birthday month, so it depends on, I guess, what me and Letty do. I don't know. But yeah, I would love to see her.
Survivor Series is definitely seeing me.
Oh yeah, that's in
especially because I'm back on 4 wheels.
That's the most exciting thing ever.
Right. It's seeing me. But we have to talk about, so we decided that we were going to talk about our best 4 episodes that we've done.
Yes.
So I feel like I want to go first.
Okay.
I feel like the episode, one of my favorite episodes, this might be yours too.
Ones that we haven't mentioned previously.
Oh, girl, well, I don't know, but I'm going to give her my first one. And I feel like this might be your favorite one too.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have like almost 80 episodes at this point.
We do. We do. And my first one is, I'm going to call it this because you're in the Boozy Bella tribute episode. Because
I love that episode so much.
We were so nice. We were so tipsy. It was the best thing ever. Shout out to, can I shout out Sean? Because if it was not for Sean, we wouldn't have got this far either. Like, Sean was literally
so right. I should really give him his props because he saw value in those wrestling girls from the very beginning.
Yes.
He was like, I want to invest in this. You guys are like 2 knowledgeable Black girls talking about wrestling, and this needs to be a thing. And he sponsored our studio time.
He bought us our Funko Pops.
Funko Pops.
He bought us stock, and he bought us the Bello. Like, he's done so much for us. So Sean, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. There are no words that can explain how we feel about you. You are definitely always in our hearts. Okay, always right here.
In our hearts, definitely family of the show. And yeah, he definitely had a vision that we didn't even really have.
We didn't fathom it.
Yep. And I definitely, we definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. And he gifted us the Bella wine, and we did a Bella twin spotlight, and it's one of our top 10 episodes.
I don't want to talk about the Bella wine because my sister drank it and threw both of my bottles away.
But yeah, we got a little tipsy during that. And we record the same place that Jobber Tears did, and they were like, yo, you want to be on our show? So we tipsily walked down the hall and recorded on their show. That's definitely a great memory.
They did, yeah. Wilkins, they just jump on. Okay.
No I think we even was like, I want some wine because we got
absolutely.
Some wine. Here you go. Any chance to talk about the Bella Twins? I'm like, yeah, we drinking that Bella Twins.
So in honor, I'm gonna finish this little bit of a swig because I was already drinking. Because it's Friday. It's National Podcast Day. It's Friday. It's National Podcast Day. Why not, right?
Celebrating up until November 5th. Little plug for our event in Brooklyn. Buy your tickets on sale now. If you can't make it, sponsor a ticket for someone. But one of my other favorite episodes.
You can't say other. You got to say your first because it's my first favorite.
Because I'm trying to choose one that I don't talk about, but I really enjoyed recording the China episode.
Absolutely.
And I think the episodes where we like the person or are passionate about them are like our best episodes. And because we both just love China so much, we grew up watching her. She, for a lot of the times, was the female wrestler representation that we even had that was wrestling men. And, there was only one China, ninth wonder of the world. So, yeah.
Right.
And it felt really good giving her flowers.
Right. And I feel like Monday Night Raw is going to be 25th anniversary of DX, and I feel like they're going to actually do her justice now because she was inducted into the Hall of Fame with them posthumously. So they got to do her justice, or I'm jumping over barricades. I'm from Brooklyn. You're not going to sit here and disrespect China.
No.
I feel like my second favorite episode, and the only reason why I feel like this is my second favorite episode is because of UP. Because my second favorite episode is the spotlight on Stephanie McMahon.
Ooh, and love that episode.
And the reason why I say it's my second favorite, I mean, we all know what Stephanie has done. She's definitely paved the way. She's definitely an influencer. She's definitely somebody that you would aspire to be within this wrestling business. But I remember sitting there recording. I'm just like, oh my God, Stephanie might want to see this one day, whatever. And here go P saying, yeah, because she's that bitch. And I'm like, oh, you can't call Stephanie McMahon that bitch. I was just like, P, don't sit here and call her that bitch. Like, what if she sees it and take offense to being that bitch? Although we know it means something different. She's just going to hear bitch. And then what if she slaps one of us? Well, then, I mean, we're going to have to fight her. Like, that was what's running through my head the entire time. But that's really one of my favorite episodes. I love the episode. We really talked about her range from working backstage, from working, like she literally started from the bottom. Now she's here. No pun intended to Drake. But yes.
That's a great one. One that I love, and it's a recent one, but it just goes back to like the episodes that we cover, people that we personally love. I gotta shout out our Sasha Banks series because one, I want to do way more of those. And two, it was, it ended up being 3 parts. It definitely wasn't supposed to be 3 parts, but it was definitely a way that we really covered for the first time, like somebody's career in such a long way. And I love that it was very much us like kind of talking about the highlights, but then also like other, things like her mainstream career. And we addressed a lot of different things that I think any Sasha Banks fan would appreciate. And, I'm a stan. So I was like, oh my God, we're finally covering her. Cause she's one of those people where you just know that she's going to have a long career. You already know that she's one of the GOATs. So it's like, okay, when is the right time to do a spotlight on her? Like it always feels like it's just the beginning. And then when she walked out with Naomi, rightfully so, and not knowing if she'll ever come back now, her changing her handle, we really don't know if she'll ever come back. It felt like the perfect time. It was like the perfect timing, I think, is why I really enjoyed recording that series last summer.
I agree. I definitely agree. My third favorite episode, and I feel like this should be my fourth one, but it's going to be my third one, is the Naomi episode. Now, I feel like Naomi was one of the first spotlights we did. And with that spotlight, she actually listened from beginning to end, retweeted us.
Yep.
And was just very, very pleased that we were able to showcase her and spotlight her in a way where she hasn't really been spotlighted because of racism, because of sexism, because of people just being ignorant. So for us to be able to sit and showcase her in the light that we see her in, that she deserves to be in. And then that led to, me interviewing her it didn't lead to it, but it played into it, like interviewing her for Hot 97. And I remember the phone call, I was just like, okay, so I'm going to tell you. I said, you just retweeted a tweet from those wrestling girls and you quoted us. I said, I'm Krista B. I'm one half of those wrestling girls. Verbatim, she goes, oh, I didn't know you was a part of that. Okay, so this makes this interview so much more comfortable because you know what we go through. You know what the history of it. And I'm like, yes, girl. So from then, me and her have had a connection, have had a bond. And I'm just so proud of where she's going and what she's doing. She just looks so much happier now that she's like outside of the ring. Her and Sasha Banks just killed it at New York Fashion Week. She got some other things going on, and I'm just glad to see her back on social media, living in her truth, being unapologetic about her truth, and just staying true to herself. So Naomi, I love you, girl. That's my third episode.
We're so happy for you, and it had a positive impact on her during a time where things were not so good for her. And I think that's what really like was like, yo, this is really cool what we're doing. My third favorite episode, I think, and this sounds kind of crazy, but the spotlight we did on Dana Brooke. And it's not because of Dana Brooke per se or anything like that. But weirdly enough, it's a lot of people's like first episode that they listened to of us that like sold them on us, because it showed that we will like cover all the women. Like we'll give them their due. You know, like it's like, oh well, wow, this podcast really is about women's wrestling, because they don't because another reason why we didn't want to talk about Sasha Banks too soon is because just like she's always talked about. You know what I mean? So I think it was refreshing for people to be like, hey, I can go on this page and do a spot and listen to a spotlight on Torsten, you know, someone that people wouldn't necessarily put on like a women's wrestling pedestal, but it's like, oh wow, that's so cool. Alicia Fox, I feel like, is one of our most streamed episodes because of the fact that like people just think she deserves more flowers. So they're like, oh wait, they cover Alicia Fox. So that's why the Dana Brooke episode is one of my favorites, because at the time I was like, they should do more with her. We got to cover her. And it's like, there were a lot of other people that felt the same way, that kind of was like, oh, I like this podcast. So,
and I didn't want to cover her at all. I was just like, but P helped me see like we got to cover more the underdogs of the women's division. Okay, so my last episode, which is my favorite, is our second episode that we've done after my WrestleMania 35 experience. And I only like this episode because it was the very first time that P and I disagreed on the triple threat match about Charlotte. And I was just watching that clip and I'm just like, girl, why do you feel like Charlotte needs to be in everything? And P was like, because she's Charlotte Flair. Like, why would she not need to be in anything? I don't know I don't know if your attitude and stuff changed about Charlotte Flair over the years, because it's like she was just always so thrown in our face, stuff down our throats and all of that. But, you know, at that time, I kind of saw it. I'm like, I guess she's Ric Flair's daughter. I guess she's genetically superior, but no. So it was the first time that we actually had a disagreement. And from there, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is it. This is going to be like, we don't always have to agree on something.
Yeah. And I remember, I don't know, I think it was Wilkins from Jobber Tears who gave us that advice. He was like, don't agree on everything. And because for the most part, because we were also just so excited to do a podcast, we also had never did one before. It was kind of like talk about things, and we did tend to, not purposely, but it was like we didn't think to have conflict and shit. And I was like, wait, that actually is juicy, and that's what makes talk about wrestling interesting, is that we can argue for an hour about whether or not Charlotte Flair deserves to be in the WrestleMania 35 main event.
Although I still feel like she didn't, but whatever.
I'm like, do we need like a part 2 of that debate? Because I would love to know what people think too, because that dead was like almost 3 years ago, and like you said, my feelings have absolutely changed about Charlotte Flair. So but my last favorite would have to be, because that was going to be my last one, I really enjoyed our interview with Jazz.
Yes. Oh, yes. I love that. I was going to say, like, who are your favorite interviews? But Jazz, by far, I think, was the absolute favorite for me. Yeah. Jazz, and then for me, Bianca.
Yeah.
Bianca's definitely family to the show.
Absolutely.
Jazz is just so down to earth, so warm, so caring, so everything. And she just like made us feel, we definitely got to hit her up. We have to hit her up.
She definitely was, like you said, so genuine and authentic, and it was one of our first, like, we actually did a spotlight on Jazz, so cheap plug, check it out, and then an interview, and that was like the first time we
that was the first time we
and I was like really dope, and I was like, oh, we gotta do this more often. So yeah, so that wraps that up. And then she was just like a Black woman in wrestling, again, that deserves her flowers, and those wrestling girls gave her flowers.
Absolutely. So speaking of giving flowers, November 5th, we have our 4th annual anniversary party. The link is everywhere. It will definitely be in the description.
Yep.
Everywhere. I'm sorry?
I'm telling people to get your tickets.
Oh yes, get your tickets. Early bird tickets are on sale until October 7th. So we don't want to hear anything about, oh my God, I missed out on the $15 tickets, because that's your loss, not ours. That's your testimony, not ours. But speaking of spotlights, do we want to reveal this panel spotlight, or do we want to hold it?
Let's hold it.
Okay.
And people got to tune in to our social media, our live streams, sign up for our email list. We're going to be dropping little
nuggets everywhere. But just know that we do have some special panelists. We do have some special things going on, some special announcements. We may even have some giveaways throughout the night. Yeah. I mean, anything can happen when it comes down to those wrestling girls celebrating 4 years. If you was at last year, then you know. Okay? If you know, you know. Okay?
You know, don't miss it.
But don't miss it. We want to wish you all a happy National Podcast Day. We love you all. Shout out to Black Wrestling. Shout out to Job Materials. Shout out to Face Beat Heels High. Shout out to
everyone that's been following us. Oh my God, making 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Yes,
thank you for the 1,000
like, that is a goal that I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we reached that goal. Thank you. We love you guys.
We love you, love you, love you so much. Shout out to Wrestle Realm. Shout out to Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. Shout out to everybody. You know, we love you.
For your wear, get our merch.
For your wear. Shout out to Mixed Tag. We love you all. We will see you on November 5th. And if we don't see you, please don't ask us what happened, because that's your loss, not ours. And on that note, it's your girl, Krista B.
And Queen P.R.
And we're out of here. Bye. Mwah. Mwah.
Queen P.R, Krista B, those wrestling girls, TWG, Black Excellence, making it effortless, podcast bringing up women and wrestling. Let's go.